lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's get into the Love is Blind reunion, guys. I have a lot of thoughts and I want you guys to join me in the comment section below after you listen to this, and let's continue this conversation. So I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of them today, so I hope you guys stay with me. The first thing I have to say is Jackie did not show up to the reunion. Of course she didn't. I knew she was going to avoid coming to the reunion so she can avoid being held accountable. I'm very disappointed that she only joined via Zoom and it wasn't like a live stream where, for instance, Marsha would have been able to say his thoughts, she would have been able to say her thoughts, and we could have a very balanced conversation. So, of course, that didn't happen. Can I take a quick moment to appreciate our faves, Tiffany and Brett? Tiffany looks so beautiful. They both looked gorgeous together. They look like they're very much in love. I love that for them. Like, Marshall definitely had some good sense putting them together. Do you hear me? I love it. So, let's talk about Kwame and Chelsea really quickly. If I'm being completely honest, Kwame and Chelsea look like they have grown together a little bit. And I'll tell you why, because watching them on the show, it looked like Kwame was held hostage. Do you hear me? It looks like Kwame did not want to be there. Even at his wedding, he did not seem really happy and excited and in love. However, looking at them at the reunion, I'm not saying they're in love yet, but you can see that the connection has grown a little bit. I still think Chelsea is very much in love. I don't think Kwame is there yet. That is not to say that he will never get there, but he is not currently there from what we're seeing. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with that. So now let's talk about the fact that Kwame actually gave an apology. So at the reunion, he apologized to Chelsea, also apologized to Chelsea's family for his private conversation with Micah. Now, the part I personally did not appreciate was him trying to make it seem that himself and Micah were actually going to call it quits, i.e., he was trying to spin this narrative. Do you hear me? Where it was like, oh, I also wanted to break up with her and she also wanted to break up with me. Girl, we know that ain't the truth. Seriously, there is no way you be out here crying and so heartbroken by someone breaking up with you when you were going to break up with the person. Like, it's not going to be that deep. And if you are that heartbroken, maybe it's your ego that is taking a hit. But let me be honest, I struggle to believe that, because if you see the interaction between himself and Micah, it was very much given, I wish I had chosen you. My thoughts, my opinion only. Let me know in the comment section. You can agree with me or you can absolutely disagree with me. I'm not precious about my opinions. That's why they're my opinions, and that's why there's the comment section for you to disagree with me or agree with me if you want to, okay? One thing I did appreciate was that Nick called out the fact that Kwame had such an emotional reaction. He appeared really, really heartbroken. Like, if you're trying to end it with someone and they end it with you, you'll be like, thank you. Now I don't have to be the bad guy. Thank you. We move. So I'm not buying that BS at all. That's just the truth. I'm not buying it at all. So let's talk quickly about Zach and Bliss before I focus on the villains, in my opinion, okay? The villains, they will get their heat in a second. Let's focus on Zach and Bliss for a second. So for me, I noticed that Zach was more emotional at the reunion. He seemed very affectionate towards Bliss. I don't know if you guys noticed the hand, him putting his arm around her, patting her back a little bit throughout the reunion, them holding hands. They were very much relying on each other throughout the reunion for support. I absolutely love that. It seems that things are growing with them. I was also happy to hear that Bliss's dad has finally come around and likes Zach. I think he knows that Zach as a person, Zach is a stand-up guy, Zach is a decent guy. So there's no point hating the guy, He is, the guy has no parents. And so hopefully I pray that Zach's father is able to step in and, you know, provide that support to Zach as well, because not having parents can be quite difficult, especially when the other partner you're dating has two parents. So it's like, to at least balance it out, I hope that they are there and supporting Zach. So that's just my little 2 cents about Bliss and Zach. Now let's talk about Irina and Micah, okay? So let's talk about Irina for a second. Did you guys notice when she first came on and then she started performing? It was almost like she wanted to start crying, and the audience was chuckling. They were not buying into the performance. It's like, you've been a mean girl this whole season. People have cried, you've laughed, you've chuckled, you said all sorts of really mean comments, and then now you want to cry and hope that people would have a better reaction to your tears. Like, they were not having it. The audience was not having it. I was like, oop. But you know one thing I rate Irina for, right? They gave her a lot of heat. Zach came for her. Zach was like not having the fact that she wasn't being held accountable enough for him. Zach came with the vim. Zach was like, I think you were here for clout. That's all you were here for. And I appreciate Zach being able to say his piece, because I feel like Zach definitely held back quite a lot when it came to his situation with Irina. And I'm glad he was able to say it and bring it out and just get it off his chest. I was absolutely appalled at the fact that Irina actually sent a message to Bliss in Mexico saying, you dodged a bullet. Like, why would you do that? This is what I mean about Irina, and I've mentioned that in a previous episode, that she is very immature. She has a lot of growing up to do. How are you going to say you dodged a bullet just because? And you can't pinpoint what Zach has done. His presence just makes you irritated or something. Like, that's what it's given. And the thing is, it happens, right? But there is no reason for you to text another woman that was dating the guy saying you dodged a bullet. Like, you would think like Zach did something to her. I'm impressed that was brought up so that she would get an opportunity to speak on it and hopefully take accountability for that. The part that also got me was the fact that while she was texting Bliss that nonsense, she actually texted Zach saying, I'm so sorry, let's talk. Which makes me think she is a very impulsive person. In that moment, if she's feeling a certain way, she goes out and does something immature. And then later on, when she has time to reflect, she's like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. I agree with Zach saying that she has a lot of work to do and she will eventually be an amazing person, but she definitely has a lot of work to do. I also appreciated Zach saying, I forgive you, because there's no point in holding on to that negative, that really toxic feeling towards someone. At the end of the day, she did what she did. You moved on, you found Bliss, you guys are happy together. There's no reason to hold on to any bad blood, in my opinion. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought. Now, this is the part that really, really annoyed me with the Irina and Micah situation. Everyone had energy for Irina. Vanessa had so much energy towards Irina, and I appreciate Irina for taking that on and being like, I'm going to show up. I'm not going to try this Zoom link thing. I'm going to show up and take the heat like a big girl, put my big girl panties on, and just say what I got to say. The part that really irritated me, and I'll let you guys decide whether or not you guys felt the same way, but the part that really, really irritated me was the fact that Micah was not held accountable for her behavior in their toxic duo dynamic. I know Irina is very overt with it, and Micah was more on the covert side, but they're both just as bad. If my friend is acting a fool, right, and being so mean, I'm not going to be there giggling and chuckling. And also, every time Irina was doing something, Micah was also egging her on. Micah was also encouraging that behavior. Micah was rewarding that behavior. So I don't understand why everyone had vim for Irina but none for Micah. Micah is the same as her friends, as the friends that she chooses. So she chose Irina, or they both chose each other, because they both know how toxic, immature, and rude and disrespectful these people are. And then they decided to stay together in a dynamic duo against the rest of the group. They both know they're both a bit mad. So how about we stick together, and be against the rest of the people? We don't like them anyway, right? If you see Micah's dynamic with Shelby, right? Irina is just another Shelby. At what point do we then say maybe Micah is really just like Irina and Shelby? Birds of the same feather flock together, okay? Like when I think about my friends, no matter how different they are in terms of personalities, and we are in terms of personalities, at the core of who we are, we're all very kind people. And so you're never going to see consistently unkind behavior from any of my friends, because whilst we're different and have different personalities, the core of who we are and our mindsets and our principles, we're not mean girls, basically. So Irina and Micah are definitely mean girls, including Shelby as well. And if you're not a mean girl, at what point do you continue to interact with mean girls and have mean girls all around you? Maybe you are a mean girl. Maybe you like other people to do your dirty work whilst you stand behind and egg them on so that they can take the blame and you can get away with being the one pulling the strings in the background. So, in conclusion, I did not appreciate the fact that Micah was given a pass. She needed to be held accountable. She is complacent. Did you see how horrible Irina and Micah were to the other girls? These girls were crying, they were upset, they were giggling and laughing, they were eavesdropping in conversations. Other people's pain was like nothing to them. It was making them laugh. Like, that is a sick mentality. You have to be sick within yourself. Even people that I don't know, if I see someone crying, someone distressed, like the other day I was at the train station, yeah? And I saw this guy just sitting on the steps on the train station. People are walking past him, walking off. I'm like, yo, you okay? Like, I couldn't bring myself to walk past this man. He could have been okay for all, but I couldn't, because I'm like, what's going on? Are you all right? And he's like, oh yeah, he's good, thank you. I'm like, okay, good, bro. Cheers, take care of yourself. And then I left, right? I could have just said, no one cares, I don't need to care, like, let's move on. But if you have common decency, that's a random person that I don't even know. Talk less of a friend. Shelby's friend was okay, or Shelby was okay with Micah crying and looking distraught, and she was just laughing and having a good old time. What kind of friends are those? And even when her friend was brought up at the reunion, Micah tried to play it down and say, she wants the best for me, and even though her delivery might not be right, because my delivery can be quite bad as well, I understood where she was coming from. I'm like, yeah, right. That's because you guys are the same. Birds of the same feather flock together. That's exactly what that is. And so let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about that. And let's move on to the situation between Micah and Paul. So Paul was expressing that he did not see any sort of nurturing side from Micah. He did not really get the impression that she would be a good mother. He didn't really see that in her, right? So he's not saying that she won't be a good mother. He just didn't see that in her. So of course, Micah started crying. And then Vanessa started to give Paul the vroom. And she was just given, she was coming for Paul in a way that I didn't appreciate. Sort of trying to say she was confused about what he was saying. What he was saying was very clear, in my opinion. Now, I didn't appreciate the fact that Paul now started to backpedal a bit and try and say, oh, well, both of us. It's not you, it is both of us, I guess. But I understand where he's coming from, in the sense that he doesn't want to be labeled a villain, because he was trying to say he didn't see that nurturing, motherly aspect between Micah and in Micah, really. What was interesting was then Vanessa was basically saying to him, when Micah met your mom, they got along, they had so many similarities. And he was very quick to say, yo, they ain't got no similarities like that. Yes, aesthetically, they look similar, but their personalities, they are very different. Now, I can't speak for what could have happened in the background, okay? But what I can say is from what we saw on the screen, she definitely did not come across as having a nurturing presence. If you think about, if you have a nurturing presence, right? If someone is crying, someone is upset, you would be so quick to rally around the person. You will go, hold their hands, rub their back, try and be there for them, listen to them. You won't be laughing and giggling with Irina. You both won't be doing that. So you don't have a nurturing presence. He's not lying when he says that. But what I don't understand is why Vanessa was really, really angry. She just seemed very pressed. She seemed very bothered. If you look at her body language, she was being very aggressive and trying to hold Paul to the fire when she should have been directing that fire towards Micah. Do you know what I did appreciate? Zach. I appreciated the fact that Zach interrupted because you could see Vanessa's disposition towards Paul was very much like trying to hold him accountable, trying to hold him to the fire. When in reality, he said what he said, and that's how he felt. That's how he felt. You know, it's hard to really explain and put in words and put in examples when you feel like you don't see a nurturing presence in someone. It's hard to explain that. So, of course, I understand the difficulties that Paul had in that moment expressing that. What I did appreciate was Zach saying that it wasn't like Micah was going to marry Paul in the first place. And I don't know if you guys have listened to the previous episode, but what I was saying on there was the way Micah asked Paul to go first. I get the impression she wasn't going to say yes. Her decision was going to be based on whatever he says. And so that was my view. And I thought, was it because she wanted to say no herself? So let's go back to what Zach said. So Zach starts talking about the fact that, you know, what's on camera is about like 10% of what happened. There is a whole lot of time that is spent that it does not come up and show on camera. And Zach was trying to allude to the fact that off camera, you are worse than we're seeing on camera. You know, it wasn't like you had expressed to anyone here that you wanted to marry Paul. So what it sounds like was that Micah wasn't really feeling Paul to that extent that she's making it seem. It almost seems like she's crying, she's playing the victim, when in reality, she never really had nice things to say about Paul. So Zach initially said, the girl said certain things in the background, but also then said from his personal experience, he was in a car at some point and Micah didn't have good things to say about Paul. So that being said, right? And also it then turns out that it seems like the leak came from Irina, which ultimately begs the question, why is Micah still cool or friends with Irina? Because they are both mean girls. That is what they do. And they both see themselves in each other. That's just the reality of the situation, okay? So now let's go back to Zach. What I appreciate is the fact that he wasn't scared to defend his friend. He was vocal. Zach, to me, does not come across as a liar. He comes across as, I will just spit the facts and then you guys can do with it what you want. And so in that situation, I believe what Zach is saying about the fact that Micah wasn't really speaking highly of Paul in the first place. And I sure as heck don't appreciate the fact that Vanessa was holding Paul accountable, but couldn't hold Micah to that fire when that was raised. Why didn't she try to get down to the bottom of exactly what was said? Why didn't she say, Micah, based on this? You know, why are our questions so biased? Throughout the reunion, I personally felt that Vanessa did not do a good job at all. It felt like she was being very anti the men on this cast. And the thing is, there's no issue being woman power and supportive of women and whatnot, but you should be able to hold man and woman accountable for their actions on the show. You're there as a host. We shouldn't be able to get into it and be able to openly say that you're biased. It was so obvious from the start until the end that you were so biased. Okay, let's move forward to Marshall, Jackie, and Josh. Now, the whole love triangle. So, Jackie and Marshall did not get the chance to speak face to face because Jackie did not show up. Am I surprised? No. No. Did you all see Marshall's face when they were playing the clips of Jackie and Josh? And Jackie said that Marshall was soft. Marshall has heard that word so many times and he doesn't like it. He looked shocked. He looked pissed. He looked like, how you finna say that over the Zoom and not be right in my face so we can have the conversation? What I found interesting was that Jackie was holding on to Mr. Josh for dear life. I'm like, okay, girl, like, leave the man alone, bro. It's almost like when you're in the labor room and they're like, push, and then you're holding on to the man. That's what she was doing. I'm like, girl, chill. But on a more serious note, the way she kept talking about it, she's like, oh, she's grown over the past year. Sis, have you? Because word on the social media is I haven't, because you're having all sorts of interactions and saying all sorts of madness on the internet. So which growth have you experienced? Or are you saying you experienced at the reunion, but you haven't experienced in real life? I am not buying it. Let me know if you guys are buying it in the comment section below. Because I am not buying it. I don't believe that for a second. I really do not. This is where I was like, Vanessa, you are out of your dang mind. How can this woman ask Jackie, do you remember the moments that Marshall pushed you and you were like, yeah, that's it, I'm done? What? Who came up with that stupid, biased question? I'm like, what sort of question is that? Like, what sort of question is that? Like, what are you hoping to get out of that questioning? And the whole line of questioning, she wasn't holding Jackie to any sort of fire. Even when the issue of the ring was brought up and Jackie said that, oh, Marshall wanted the ring back so he can propose to another girl 2 weeks later. I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? One thing I will say is I was here for Marshall's face the whole time. He wasn't with the BS. His eyebrows were like raised. He was shocked. One thing I like about the guy is he is so expressive. So if you want to find out the truth, just stare at his face and he will tell you all that you need to know. So after making Marshall sit through that, so Vanessa is like, oh, so do you have a response? And Marshall is like, it's really hard to respond to someone who isn't physically here. And also it's hard to remember all the points that she raised. So Vanessa was like, I'll refresh you. So she's like, oh, the first point that Jackie made was that she didn't cheat. I'm like, okay. And that's exactly what Marshall said. Marshall was like, okay, so am I supposed to be okay with the fact that you broke up with me and then a day later you're kissing someone else? I'm like, exactly. I don't understand why Vanessa wants Marshall to be cool with it. I just don't get it. Also, it just feels like Vanessa can probably see herself in Jackie because I don't understand why she let her get away with murder. That's exactly what it is. And I'm highly disappointed in the way the whole reunion was handled, because it's like you should have held Micah accountable. You should have held Jackie accountable instead of just giving Irina all the smoke, but not anything for Micah and Jackie, especially Jackie was moving mad. And don't get me wrong, I think Marshall has a savior complex, and I've talked about this in a previous episode. And Marshall should also get some smoke, but I just think it was heavily towards Marshall, but nothing for Jackie. That just didn't make sense to me. I didn't like how Marshall responded and talked about the issue of the rings. The rings was a symbol of his love and she did not deserve it. Did you hear how everyone was clapping? Like, people agree with that. The way she treated Marshall was horrible, and no, she definitely does not deserve to be able to hold on to that ring. Also, from the conversations that leaked on social media, it was clear that she did not have any intentions of marrying Marshall. So you shouldn't be able to hold a ring when you knew even before that stage that you didn't want to be with that man. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you guys think I'm having too much smoke for Vanessa, or do you think she deserves every single bit of the smoke? Also, do you think I have too much smoke for Jackie, Or do you think I'm doing what I need to be doing? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. And before the end of the episode, they showed us how the married couples were living their lives with the family and all that, and like their pets and whatnot. That was a really cute segment. It was really cute to sort of end the episode on that. The part I also didn't appreciate was the way Vanessa was hounding them about wanting to have children. I'm like, you don't even know if they want children. You don't even know if they have fertility issues. Like, that's not the way to come across and do things. Also, I didn't understand why the heck Baptiste, I know that's probably not his name, but Baptiste, because like, he is hella annoying to me, right? I don't understand why he's being shown with his son, who we don't even know who his mom is, who the mother of the child is. He, as far as we know, he wasn't in a relationship. So what's he even doing on the show? Talking about, oh, I just want to know when you guys will be having another one or a little one. Like, shut up, Baptiste. Like, no, bro. Yeah, no. It's almost like you're always looking for your 2 seconds of fame, bro. Find somewhere to sit. Take several seats. Anyways, that's my opinion. Everything in here is my opinion. It's not a fact, it's just my opinion, okay? Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. And yeah, let's continue the conversation in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? I create these sorts of content. I have these sorts of candid conversations on reality TV shows, especially. If there's any reality TV show you want me to cover that I don't cover right now, leave it in the comment section below so that I can pick that up and start watching it for you guys. On that note, if you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're doing. Please subscribe, girl. Help me. Thank you. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.